I'm Bob Trask. Today we're going to talk about being filled with spiritual power. Being filled with spiritual power. And you know what? You already are. We're all born with physical muscles that develop throughout life, aren't we? We also are born with spiritual power and an energy that's free flowing and that will increase and develop throughout life. The potential for your spiritual power is amazing. It's amazing. It has unlimited ability, your spiritual power to overcome any problem in life. So I wonder if you've used that. Like some of the problems that have come up have been some pretty horrendous ones, I know. I mean, boy, if everybody that saw you could understand some of the pain you've gone through, they'd be kneeling at your feet in appreciation for who you are. And yet, a lot of the times, that suffering, that pain, that confusion that you went through, and that you still may be going through over some of those past things, is unnecessary because you have unlimited ability through your spiritual power to overcome any problem in life. And the question is, how do you turn on that power? Today, we're going to look at that. And for those of us that are dedicated to becoming whole spiritual persons, this developing intuition, this awakening wisdom is our rite of passage. And as we mature spiritually, we become spiritually stronger, more self-reliant, and more self-confident. We'll simply become accustomed to winning all the time. Winning all the time. Oglala Lokata, spiritual master, Frank Tools Crow. Frank Fools Crow said sometimes it feels like energy or electricity when it's moving in and out and through us. The spiritual power is really a distinctive kind of knowledge. It's like the key that opens the door or the switch that starts the energy moving. Frank Fools Crow was right. The spiritual power is pure energy, and it's intelligent energy. It's the energy that allows us to get out of bed in the morning. It's the energy that allows us to laugh, to sing, to dance, to be in joy. It's energy, pure energy. And it enables our bodies to stay well or to heal. Pure spiritual energy is what enabled us as embryos in our mom's tummy to grow and develop into who we are. Spiritual energy. So, we can look at this. We have physical energy, we have strength, and, we can lift a lot of weight, or we can walk a long ways, or we can do these things that require physical strength and energy. And by the end of the day, maybe we're tired or worn out, and our energy is flagging, and we say, "Pooh, man, I'm really tired. I'm just all out of energy." But see, here's the thing about spiritual energy is that you can't get tired. Spiritual energy does not tire. At the end of the day, your body may be out of energy, and you may have to sit in your chair and drink a cup of something and relax and say, "Whoa, man, I'm just out of energy." But at the same time, your mind and your heart can be singing because of that energy, that what we might call vital life force is still powerful in you. So all through school, when you were a kid going through school, all through school, you were challenged by studies, right? By social pressures from other kids and by teachers. And it was your spiritual power, your spiritual energy, your vital life force that enabled you to succeed. When you didn't know how this geometry problem or algebra problem or this memorizing this text in literature or whatever, that seemed like above you. It seemed like beyond you. How did you do that? You didn't use some sort of physical attribute to do that. That was your spiritual power, your spiritual energy, your vital life force flowing through you that enabled you to succeed. And it's that vital life force that continues to empower you every day. No matter how steep the climb, you came on this planet predestined to overcome, not be defeated, but to overcome, to grow and to become stronger than any force against you. You were supposed to win, and you were destined to win all the time. That's right. You were supposed to win all the time, to be winning all the time. Oh, wait a minute. Nobody can win all the time. My friend, no one's living your life but you. There's no competition. It's not you against someone else. Only you are living your life. Only you have that incredible spiritual consciousness, power, energy flowing through you. And when you come up on a problem in life seems unsurmountable, you're supposed to win over that. You're supposed to, because that's how you'll grow. That's what we're doing here. We're growing in wisdom and grace and joy. Some challenges in life can seem like they're just so big we can't handle them. And yet, I repeat, you were destined to win over them, destined to win all the time. And for what purpose? What possibly could be the reason or the or the purpose for winning all the time? What could be gained? What value could be attained? And when you look back at what you consider the calamities, the tragedies, the catastrophes of your life, you might say that there was no way to win. And yet there was. And there still is. And the fact that you're still standing and still moving forward means that you're winning. And if you've got a lot of pain still, or regret, or resentment about that stuff that happened, then that means the situation is still alive and you still haven't got it finished yet. You still haven't handled it yet. And you will handle it and you will win. You'll come to a place in your life when you'll look at those people who have hurt you, who've disappointed you, who've betrayed you, and you'll look at them and you'll just say, my gosh, I was angry. My gosh, I was upset. I was resentful. My gosh, look at that person. They're just doing what they do. That's who they are. My expectations were mine. Those, I owned those. I got those in the way. I expected that person to be bigger, smarter, more loving, more kind, more generous, more forgiving. I expected that. I was wrong. That was me. My expectations. They were just being who they were. And if you can get that, then you can let them go. And you can move on. And you can win. And you will, because that's what you're doing here, being challenged by life beyond what you think you can handle, and then proving yourself by becoming the person that not only handles it, but grows wiser because of it. Paramahansa Yogananda. God, what a wonderful, amazing guy. I just can't say enough about him. If you haven't read his book, Autobiography of a Yogi, I recommend it. But Paramahansa Yogananda came to the United States to help us sort of find enlightenment beyond our religious beliefs. And he said some really beautiful things, but here's some directions that he gave us. It's not your passing thoughts or brilliant ideas so much as your plain everyday habits that control your life. Live simply. Don't get caught in the machine of the world. It's too exacting. By the time you get what you're seeking, your nerves are gone. The heart is damaged and the bones are aching. Resolve to develop your spiritual powers more earnestly from now on. He said, resolve to develop your spiritual powers more earnestly from now on. Learn the art of right living. If you have joy, you have everything. So learn to be glad and contented. Have happiness now. Winning then is rising above what often seems impossible, isn't it? And there's four steps in realizing your personal power, your spiritual power, your vital life force. 4 steps. If you just know these 4 steps, if you own them, if you take them inside, if you own them as yours, then your power turns on. Here they are. You ready? You need to know that you are loved. If you doubt that, then your power shuts down. You need to know that you're loved. You're being loved by this universe, which is alive. It's not dead. This is not a dead universe. This is alive. It's conscious, and it loves you, and it blesses you. So you are blessed. You are loved, and you are blessed. How do you know you're blessed? How many others of you are there? None. You're the only one. You're the only one out of 108 billion people who have lived so far on this planet. You're the only you. Only you have your thumbprint, voice print, eye print. Only you have your way of seeing reality. You are blessed. And you're safe. You're safe because you're loved and blessed. You're safe. You're being protected. You can stop worrying. You're at this age and you've come through all of this before, and you'll continue to go through it, and you're safe. And because you're loved and blessed and safe, you're also free. You're free to live your life and to accept the spiritual power and the spiritual energy that's flowing through you. So we're eternal beings, aren't we? We're eternal beings, and we're here for a little while to enjoy this life and to grow in wisdom. And we're the creation of the greatest consciousness, and we are that consciousness. And so the wisdom we gain in overcoming our earthly challenges builds a spiritual maturity that becomes who we are eternally. And we're not supposed to be suffering. That's not part of the game. If there's one sin, it's to suffer. We are not supposed to suffer. We're going to have pain. We're going to have a lot of pain, but we're not supposed to suffer, because suffering is the resistance to what is. And what I may have a headache right now. And that's what is. And if I accept that and surrender to that, then it still remains pain, but it's not suffering. Suffering is my resistance. It's my angst. It's my emotional upset. Pain is just pain. So does that make sense? We're here to build spiritual maturity that becomes who we are eternally. And if we compare that to school, like when you were in the 3rd grade, there's certain things you had to learn in the 3rd grade so you could pass on to the 4th grade. And if you didn't get them, then you got to stay in the 3rd grade again. Certain things you needed to learn in order to get, and you had pressures on you. You had You were fighting against things that you didn't know. You were trying to learn things that didn't make any sense to you. X equals what? Are you kidding me? That just felt so far beyond you, and you got it, and you learned it. And it was that spiritual wisdom, it was that spiritual energy, that spiritual power inside of you that held you to the fire and kept you going until you got it. So we grew in wisdom and we grew in joy. And if we didn't do that, then we got into resistance, and then our spiritual power turned off, and we stagnated. We became stagnant. You and I both know situations that we either avoided or felt defeated in. But were we defeated, or were we just fold? Did we just give up? If you didn't just give up, you were never defeated. If you had an idea and you started a company and a year later you closed your doors and went out of business, did you win? Yes, you did. If you saw that journey as a path to spiritual maturity and spiritual mastery and then moved on to the next level, otherwise you're still in the third grade and you get to repeat it again and again and again. One of our most common blocks is in relationships and not allowing ourselves to grow beyond some of the people around us. There are people we love, like our family. We love our family. An example is Juan, who's a soccer player, and he's a really great soccer player. He's superior. He's helped his team win 3 championships, and everyone looks at Juan with respect and with admiration. But what they don't know about Juan is that he can't accept himself as a full winner because his family is still holding back. And until his family also begins to wake up, Juan can't get there. He won't allow himself to get there. And in his family, none of those people have goals that move them beyond their poverty and their dependence on Juan. And he's tried to lift them up from being victims, but to no avail. So he waits for them to wake up before he emotionally allows himself to move beyond them. Does that make sense? Do you have someone in your life like that? Do you feel like you might be abandoning them? If you're truly to see yourself as the magnificent being you are and allow that spiritual power to lift you up? Is there someone that you love that will not challenge their own self-image and create a larger and larger and larger self-identity and self-image, growing gradually throughout this wonderful, wonderful journey of life? And do you let them sabotage your spiritual awakening as a result? And I know it doesn't matter what you say to some of those people because I have them in my life. They've decided to be immovable, to be spiritually lazy. You have to be really careful with those folks because they can become spiritual vampires and suck away your life energy and leave you flat. Author and spiritual master Joseph Murphy reminds us, if you really want peace of mind and inner calm, you'll get it. If you really want peace of mind and inner calm, you'll get it. Regardless of how unjustly you've been treated, or how unfair the boss has been, or what a mean scoundrel someone has proved to be, all this makes no difference to you when you awaken your mental and spiritual powers. I have a friend whose son was in prison for dealing drugs. And so when he got out of prison, my friend took him into his home and loved him and took care of him and fed him and even employed him, gave him a job. And now, a couple of years later, that guy's back out on the street somewhere running from the law, and there's a warrant out for his arrest. And the father still loves his son, but he knows that this is not his challenge. It's not his challenge to overcome. And does he feel pain from what his son's doing? Yes. But is he any resistance to the pain? No. He's accepting the pain. This is what it's like to be a father. I accept it. And I let my son do what he's going to do. And I accept that that's the way it has to be. Strangely enough, I have 4 other sets of parents in that same situation. One with a son running from the law, one a son, a complete victim who's just after his dad's money and he'll never do anything on his own. And there's 2 errant daughters, one who's disappeared and one who died of an overdose. So we keep the love flowing, but we cannot be on top of our spiritual lives while trying to live someone else's life. We need to cleanse our emotional palates through forgiveness and through acceptance of what is, through meditation and classes and discussions. We can expand our spiritual energy and our spiritual intuition. Norman Vincent Peale said, no matter how many worries or anxieties harass you, remember always that they're removable. Enthusiasm, with its immense physical and spiritual power, can cancel out all fear. And we need to know that because our emotions are pure energy. And they can be either destructive, our emotions, or constructive. And the choice is ours. Because each emotion carries a frequency, a vibration. Did you know that? And frequencies are intelligent, as I said before. Frequencies are intelligent, and each emotion carries a frequency, a vibration. Well, what's the message that that vibration is carrying? Stephen Hawking's Power versus Force book shares his map of consciousness in which he measures the frequencies of our emotions. He shows, for example, that the emotions of shame has a vibration of 20, while the joy vibration has a vibration of 540. 540 over 20. That's our choice. And when we think we can, and we forgive the past, and look for a world of love and decency, that's the 540. We think we can, and we forgive the past, and we look for a world of love and decency, and then we are loved and blessed and safe and free. And we're out of the 3rd grade and moving on. So if we're afraid of life's challenges, and please know that there's an exact challenge in every part of life. And it invites us to play the game, to come and play, to get down on the field, to get our running gear on and get out of the bleachers and down on the field and start shooting, kicking, hitting, throwing the ball. Be in the game. You don't have to win the lottery. You don't even have to get that desired job or that desired relationship. It's your self-doubt that we're overcoming step by step through each of these challenges, overcoming your insecurity. And we're called to accomplish this. We're called by the spiritual reality of ourselves as eternal spiritual beings. Where I find my nourishment and my transformation is in nature. Oh my goodness. I feel so grateful for that. I was living in San Francisco and I was a singer and I didn't get out. I didn't get out of the city. I was 2 or 3 years just in the city and the busy streets of the city and riding the cable cars and going to gigs and singing and going to voice lessons and doing all this stuff. And I was just busy, busy, busy. And a friend of mine who was a waiter at the John Hopkins Hotel said, um, no, it's a Fairmont Hotel. He said, I'm going to go up to Muir Woods, come and go with me. And I didn't know what a Muir Woods was, but I said, okay, I'll go. And he had this little nifty sports car, and he put the top down, and we rode up to Muir Woods, and he pulled up to the parking lot, and he got out, and I brought along a sandwich, and he got out, and he said, I'm going to take off on my own, and so I'll meet you back here in an hour. So he took off. And at the time, I didn't know why he would go by himself because I thought we were going to do this Muir Woods thing together. But boy, did I learn differently. So I started walking into the woods, and as I walked, I came to this little stream, and I saw these little fish. Maybe they were little trout. And I knelt down at the stream, and I broke pieces off of my sandwich and little bits of bread and tossed them in. And pretty soon I had a little school of these guys. And I looked up across the stream, and there was a bit of a meadow, and then the wall of trees just went up from there. And I looked at the trees, and the trees spoke to me. I swear they spoke to me. Now they didn't speak in my language of English, but they spoke to me in that spiritual energy, that spiritual wisdom. They spoke to me. They said, where have you been? And I felt like the prodigal son come home. I felt like I had starved myself. I felt empty. And I just sat there beside that creek, and I must have had tears in my eyes. I felt so overwhelmingly filled with love, with grace, with a passion that's not describable. And since then, I never let myself get away from the trees. I never let myself get away from the trees. Boy, oh boy. Or a flower, or just a bush or a vine, of whatever it is. I just need to feel that presence inside of me because they're blessing me all the time. So that's where I find my nourishment. That's where I find my spiritual groundedness. And you don't have to go hiking in the wilderness or free diving in the ocean. I got a lot of that free diving in the ocean, going down through the kelp patties or down over the reefs. You can look deep into a flower or stand in the sun and feel the air. Please try this. Please go forward with the wind at your back and let that passion inside of you, that divine blessed passion inside you, awaken. And let me finish by by quoting Jane Goodall. You know who Jane Goodall is. Magnificent woman and guider for all of us. And she said, from my perspective, I absolutely believe in a greater spiritual power, far greater than I am, from which I have derived strength in moments of sadness or fear. That's what I believe. And it was very, very strong in the forest. And finally, John Muir. Oh my goodness, for whom Muir Woods was named. John Muir said to lovers of the wild, these mountains are not 100 miles away. Their spiritual power and the goodness of the sky make them near as a circle of friends. You bathe in these spirit beams, turning round and round as if warming at a campfire. Presently, you lose consciousness of your separate existence. You blend with the landscape and become part and parcel of nature. Oh, if I can tell you, that's the most delicious feeling in life. You lose consciousness of your own separate existence. You blend with the landscape and become part and parcel of nature. Thank you. Thank you for being with me today. Thank you for being who you are and for gracing my world with your magnificent presence. Thank you. Now, next week, I have a brand new talk for you, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week. And until then, go with my love.